It's just gone 5 on a Monday and we're still grafting. This is episode 30 of Trading with a Pro with me, Jack Beanie, and I'm going to show you 4 trading setups that could make me £16,000 before Christmas. Welcome to episode 30 of Trading with a Pro. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 trading setups that could make me £16,000 in the next 7 days. So let's get stuck into it. We're looking at Euro USD, AUD CAD, AUD JPY and NZD CHF. They're the 4 currency pairs I'm looking at and the 4 setups we have on the currency pairs I trade. I only trade currencies. I've been trading currencies for 7 years now. I'm also a trading mentor and I'm over $500,000 in funding trading capital. So starting with the best one, Euro USD, and the best one's the top one on my watch list. You can see over this side on the trading view, we have the watch list selected here, and we use the space bar to go through them. So there's a little tip already in the video, is that you use the space bar on trading view. That will take you through your watch list without clicking off. So we get rid of that now. We're going to look at the setup. Starting with Euro USD on the daily time frame, we have a big head and shoulders pattern, which possibly could be rejecting the weekly resistance zone. So I use support and resistance to start my trading, and then we drop down looking for market structure, and then we look for entries and movement in the pushes of the market. So we're going to start over here and show you this setup. So as you can see, we've got the main structure on the daily time frame, and we've got both zones marked out. We've got resistance at the top, support down the bottom, and you can see what's going on. We had a lovely 6% trade last month, and that's the only trade I've placed so far for December, actually, well, November and December of 2025. So we've only got 1.5 weeks trading left of 2025 before we then roll over to 2026 to start a whole new year of trading. So we've got to drop down to the 4-hour time frame. So I always start with top down analysis, start on the higher time frames and work my way down. And what we're looking for here, you can see that price is now pushed up and made a new higher high. So we had a new higher high created, price is pushed back up again to create a second higher high. What we're now looking for is price to pull back into the 4-hour 50. So I need it to come back. 4-hour 50 is going to move, and that will end up sitting somewhere just above the 50% fib mark. So we're just going to follow that back with these lines here. We're waiting for a pullback into this zone. We're then going to look to see a rejection of the 4-hour 50 and at least a 382 fib pullback. So use Fibonacci to see how much the pullback has gained before then looking for the next push. And then we're going to have a simple trade from there straight to the weekly resistance zone for a 1 to 3 trade. So nice and simple. That is our first 3% or £3,000 on each funded account I have. And that's what we're looking for on this setup. Very, very simple. We're just waiting for a push, a pullback, and then we're looking to catch that continuational push up to the weekly resistance zone. From there, spacebar, see the spacebar tap, didn't have to move the mouse. We're now looking at AUD CAD, favourite pair to trade, and this pair I can get really fine-tuned entries on, like the 10-15 pip mark with a stop loss, where like Euro USD, I'm on like 30-35 pips, especially with some of the other pairs as well. So this is the favourite pair I trade. What we got is we've got on a daily time frame, start top down analysis. You can see we've had a daily time frame flag, and that has come rejected the daily 50 EMA now for the 3rd time. So we had a push up, new high, pullback. It rejected the daily time frame EMA 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pushed up, pulled back, tested it again. We then broke through and tested the bottom of the flag and the support zone, and then pushed all the way up to create a new higher high. You can see the new higher high formed here, and now we've had a double pullback into the 4-hour 50 and the daily 50 EMAs. So what we're looking for now is a clean rejection of the daily EMA before taking a long trade all the way up to create a new higher high. So we just had that big pullback. We're now waiting for the rejection before we get that push up on the continuational. If we look at this on the weekly time frame, we still are in bearish movement. No, incorrect. We are in bullish movement for the markets. So we drop down to the 4-hour time frame. You can see the double pullback. We have 1 pullback, Second pullback, we've come into this daily 50, and we're now waiting for a clean rejection of this. We could get a second entry on this trade if price pushes up above the 4-hour 50, as I've got marked, and pulls back to reject it. We could get in for a second entry once price has then moved. So what we're looking for, if price here on the 1-hour time frame has a clean candlestick rejection, then I will be looking to place a trade long, all the way up to the new high. So a 1 to 5 on this trade, meaning every 100,000 I've got in trading capital, I'm looking to gain 5% back, or £5,000, because I risk 1% of my trading capital on every trade placed. So we risk 1% and we're gaining 5% back on this 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio trade. So from that, we're now on spacebar again. We're on AUD JPY, first JPY pair. Numbers are slightly different on JPY pairs, and that is a little bit difficult for people to work out the lot sizes you need. So I've got a lot size calculator inside the Limitless Trading Club, so you can find that in there if you join. And what we're now looking for, price here has created an all-time a new high. We was back in August last year. This was the last time this high was created. You can see it's pushed right way through that weekly support, which was resistance, is now support zone. And we're just waiting for a big pullback. And we've got that pullback perfectly as I expected to the 4-hour 50. What we've got to be a little bit careful of over the next 24 hours is price doesn't continue moving in bearish movement down to that weekly support zone. So price doesn't continue to push down to here before pushing up. That's why we need to see the rejection and break back above the 4-hour 50 before placing the trades. That's why you can see my entry is above that 4-hour 50. That's sometimes really careful. Wait for that extra little step and that extra confluence before placing your trades. So what I'm looking for, if we go on the 1-hour time frame, you can see I'm now just waiting for a clean push. We've had pull all the way down and create a one-time lower low on the 1-hour time frame. It then created a second time lower low. So we've got a double bottom forming on the 1-hour time frame. Not overly strong, but it's still 1-hour time frame rejection. We're now just going to see if we can get a push, a pullback, and then the entry. So what we're waiting for now is price where it is to push up, come into these sort of previous lows here, into this sort of area like that, pull back into test the 4-hour 50 and then push all the way up. That's the smaller time frame I'm looking at on the 1 hour. Obviously I've marked this here out on the bigger 4-hour time frame so you can see it, but then when we drop down to the 1 hour time frame, that's what my entry is going to be. I will need to see that push, break on a 4-hour 50 and the pullback before placing any trade on this pair. Finally, and actually that was for another 1 to 5. We go back on that, I didn't show you. AUD JPY, that is another 1 to 5 trade. So the first one was a 1 to 3. We had a 1 to 5 on AUD CAD, and we had a 1 to 5 on this. So that's giving us 13% if I enter all 3 trades. Now we're going to finish up NZD-CHF. Not a pair I trade all the time, but when I do have a trade on here, we are normally golden. I've learned to work out each currency pair is different. It moves in different waves, and it also needs a different size stop loss for each pair because different pairs move at different rates. So Euro USD is a lot quicker mover than AUD CAD. That's why it needs a bigger stop loss. That's what I recommend for you, to smallen the amount of currency pairs you trade on a day-to-day basis. You can see there I've only got 6 currency pairs I trade as a full-time trader of 7 years, and that allows me to understand each currency pair and make the best profits. So finally, last one, what we have here, I'm going to show you on the daily time frame. Actually, we go to the weekly time frame. Always do that. You can see here price with the Swiss franc is always stronger than the New Zealand dollar. So price is always moving in bearish movement over the bigger periods. Price has created an all-time lower low. It's never been that low ever since the time of humans. And what we're now looking for is a little bit of a push back up, and that's what we're going to try and catch. We're going to try and catch a long trade. Most of these are long trades, just happens that way. Sometimes you get loads of shorts, sometimes you get loads of longs. I will take both trades. I'm not fussed on what comes, but whatever's there, we will be placing. What we're looking for, you can see we've had now a double bottom. Price can fully confirm the double bottom once it created a new higher high. So once price broke above, let me zoom back in a little bit. Once price broke above these pullback highs here, we then created a new higher high, which is a reversal sign. So we know now price is going to continue pushing up. So it's reversed. Price has now decided there's more buyers in the market than there is sellers, and we're looking for longs or bullish movement. So what we're looking here is we're waiting for that pullback into the daily 50. What we did see is if we're going to get a pullback to the 4 hour, which we did. Price pulled back into the 4 hour, rejected it. But we had to be careful that price broke above the 4 hour before placing the trade. It didn't break back above. It pushed back down to test the daily. So if people would have got in here with a very tight stop loss, you would have been taking out the trade, and then it still's going to go the way you want it to. So sometimes, again, be patient and wait for the break back above. So what we're looking for now is price here is rejected the daily 50 EMA, but it's not quite certain on what it's going to do. I want to see a clean push above the 4 hour 50 and a pullback before then placing a trade up to the second zone. So I've marked these two zones out. We can see the first zone is where price is tested before, and second zone is where I want to be out of the trade before it hits any barriers. So that's a good thing to remember. When you're placing your stop loss, you want it behind the barriers. When you're placing your TP, you want it in front of any barriers there's going to be. If there's an EMA, if there's a support and resistance zone, any sort of key zone, you want your TP before. So price hasn't got to break through that zone. So we're going to go for a simple trade there. We're going to run it with I was going to run a 35 pip stop loss. That would take me just below the previous low there, just in case price does come back and test it for a second time, and we're going to push it all the way up to there, and I believe that was a 1 to 3.5. We will take 0.5%. There's still 0.5%, and they all add up. So that there is what we're looking for. There are my 4 setups. We've got Euro USD, we have AUD CAD, AUD JPY, and also NZD CHF. And if I end up all 4 setups in the next 7 days, we'll be looking to make £16,000 or 16% on the 4 setups.